So today, for the Be the Difference series video, we have the privilege of talking to Dean Eastman with the Spear School of Business. And within this series, we've been talking about things that we can do. There's a lot going on in the world right now. 2020 has been a heck of a year. And we've been focusing in this series on what are things that we can do to promote positive change? What are things that we can do to ensure that we're making a positive impact on 2020? So with that, Dean Eastman, I want to ask your thoughts and perspectives on that. Many of us, we're working from home, we're studying from home. It can feel overwhelming to figure out, how can I make a positive impact with everything that's going on and I'm stuck at home? What advice would you have to our students on the things that they can be doing now?
Yeah, I think using technology, I know we've all used Zoom more than we have in the entire history of life previous, but it's been a very effective tool to interact with people, and there's other formats. And I think just being conscious of the need to reach out to people and connect, whether it's by a text, phone call. I know young people don't call as much, but Zoom, FaceTime, whatever it is. I think that the important thing to remember is that relationships need to be nurtured, right? And if you ignore them, they'll tend to atrophy and wane. So you have to be purposeful and make sure that you take action to keep those relationships growing. Again, we're talking about friends, family, whomever. That connectivity, even though it can't be always face-to-face as much, just be mindful that you need to maintain it so that relationship continues to grow.
So you talk about being purposeful, and I think because right now our schedules, does anybody really have a schedule anymore? I mean, it's just kind of all over the place. So being purposeful and being, I guess, intentional with making these, do you have any type of schedule that you're following to try to check in with whether it's family, friends, anything like that during the week?
Yeah, my mom, I used to be on the road all the time, right? And so I'd always call her from my car. Well, I haven't driven anywhere since March, so I finally realized, oh my gosh, I got to figure out a schedule. So now I try to, pick a day, and I'm going to call my mom that day. And I know some people put it in their calendar. I'm going to call so-and-so here. I'm going to text somebody. And I think those are effective things to do, because if you don't, you'll forget, right? Because things will come up. There's always little things. So I think if you have a day planner, your phone, whatever, just reminders to do that. Or if you just happen to think of the person pops in your mind, don't let it go. Just send them a text or something.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and you've got family you've got three boys, yep. And they're all over, scattered across the U.S., right? How have you been staying in touch with them?
Yeah, we have our oldest son is Chicago, son number 2 is in Gainesville, Florida, and number 3 is in Des Moines, Iowa.
They are everywhere.
So, we haven't seen them since, oh my gosh, actually probably since last Christmas. So. Wow. We started, we have a family Zoom we do every Saturday night at 6:30, and we'll either do a power hour, some of you know what that is, or we'll do Jackbox games or something, sometimes we'll just talk. So it's just really nice, and it's funny, I thought the kids were just humoring us, right? The old people want to see us, but we couldn't do it one night, and they really missed it. So it made me feel good, I guess, as a dad, that they really do value staying connected with us as well. But I think things like that, just fun little things, it really has helped us. And so it's ironic, we actually see them more now than we did before the pandemic, because every week we see them for about 3 hours on a Saturday night, where other times, sons, you see hear from once in a while. But that's been really nice. And again, they're one is married, one has a significant other. They join us, so it's just like a little virtual family reunion. It's been a lot of fun.
Our family does that on my dad's side. We see each other like once every, 6 to 7 years. And we started these monthly family Zoom reunions, and we saw each other more now, this year than we ever have.
I know, it's the irony. And actually the boys, and we've talked about, well, even when we can see people, we need to keep this up. It's been really nice to stay in contact. Now we know that there'll be diversions, people will have to do things, but sure. it has been a nice way to just stay up with people and stay connected. And sometimes we just talk about current events or other things or issues they might have. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Good. I like that just whole concept of checking in. seeing how people are doing, because we're not seeing them. We're not able to, just necessarily like pass them in the hallway and say, oh, it looks like something's wrong, maybe I should check in with them. So being intentional about that, I really like that. I think about, we're coming up on the holidays, and what's that going to look like? I know for our family it's going to look very different. We have some family members that are high risk. What advice would you have to students as far as checking in with people around the holidays, and what that experience will look like for them?
Well, I hope, and this actually came from one of our students through a survey, is he suggested that kids be reminded that they should really isolate for 2 weeks before they go home. And I think it's a great idea. I think that anything you can do to kind of keep yourself out of high-risk situations or high-risk people for 2 weeks, because you certainly don't want to take anything back to your family. So I think that's one thing you can do to help protect your family, is really be careful the 2 weeks before you go. But we know there's some students, particularly international students, probably are not going to be able to get home, either because of travel restrictions or concerns about returning. So I would say, hopefully that others will check in on them. And one idea is, if you can, invite them over, right? Even for an evening or something. I think we all need to open up and welcome people as much as we did. I remember when I was MBA director years ago, Thanksgiving. Well, we had a lot of international kids who didn't know what it was. So we would host sometimes 20, 25 international students at our house for Thanksgiving. They had no idea what turkey was, any of this stuff. And, our kids at first weren't sure about it, but they were younger, obviously. They were thrilled. They loved it. It was just a lot of fun, and it allowed them to kind of see what Thanksgiving was like from an American perspective. And I ran to one of our alums last year, and he said that was one of the most special moments he could remember as an MBA student. Oh, wow. Was that, being at our home and being with our family. And I think sometimes we forget little ordinary things like that can mean a lot to people. And, especially when we break for the holidays, some people, if they aren't able to see their own loved ones, that to be mindful that we need to reach out to them if we can, invite them over or contact them, and at least let them know that someone's thinking about them.
Absolutely. So you mentioned you're seeing your sons more now than you ever have. What's another kind of pleasant surprise that has come out of this for you over the past 6 months? What's something that has been a positive thing that's come out of the changes that we've seen? Yeah,
I think one big one, Abby, is that I would do a lot of alumni visits, so I go to Houston for 3-4 days. Well, the problem is I'm there for 3 or 4 days. I have to try to find people who can meet during those days, and oftentimes we meet people. Well, now with Zoom, right? I've been amazed. Even alumni in their 70s, we've Zoomed with them, and so it kind of surprised me, and I think showed me that, well, you can do things like this and connect with people. So one, not assume just because they're older they're not going to know how to do it, because they've been Zooming with their kids forever. But two, in the future, we don't have to wait till we physically are in a place to connect with people. And I think people are much more open to Zoom meetings. So, 1 week I had a New York tour. So we Zoomed with a number of New York alums. And some people I've never been able to see in person because our schedules never meshed. So I think now people are more open to those activities. So that's been one big surprise. We've actually been able to connect with alums more consistently in far-flung areas than we would have if we physically went there and did it. And I fully expect that we'll continue to do that, because we can actually, like our sons, see people more. Because we actually have an alum who has a business, and his dad was kind of in those old schools, like, when are you going to get back to the office? And he said, we're in no hurry. Our productivity has never been higher. Because they're in Houston, right? And you have an hour to 2 hours of commute. So I think he was surprised just how productive people have been. He said, I don't know if we'll ever go back, just because people have more control over their time. And I think it's probably one thing we're learning through this is, there is a lot of value in physically being together, but there are jobs in our situations where working virtually can be very effective.
Absolutely. We're hearing that over and over from employers, that they're seeing really high productivity levels, and they're fine operating from home, and they've figured it out for the time being. So we're at week 10, I believe, in the semester.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, we're about week 10, and we're getting closer and closer to fall break. To close, kind of our session today, what advice do you have for students between now and the end of the semester?
Yeah, don't let up. I think there's always, when you can start to see the finish line, you start to coast. So I think it would be very important to keep, the proverbial eye on the prize and not, start thinking about break before it's here. It'll get here on its own. And so really just keep after it until that time. And remember that finals be virtual, so be prepared and don't just shank it once you go home. But again, really, I hope that people will be careful those 2 weeks before they go home, so they can help protect their family and their loved ones as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I'm not going to shake your hand or fist bump, but we can do a Go Pokes to close.
All right.
All right.
Ready?
Go Pokes.
Go Pokes.